Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, delegates. Let me once again welcome you to this morning and last day of our Congress. I hope all of us have had a rewarding 1 week, but today will actually culminate the end of the conference. Let me now allow us to watch a video from Mary Robinson, former United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
I'm very pleased to salute the 5th ITUC World Congress in Melbourne, which is her last as General Secretary by my dear friend, Sharon Burrow. My message to you is given with a real sense of urgency. We have so many crises in our world today. The food crisis, the fuel crisis, the jobs crisis, the debt crisis, the inequality crisis, that we tend to forget the overarching climate crisis. And that tends to aggravate all the other crises, which are, of course, connected. The urgency stems from the fact that we have been so slow to act in industrialized countries and emerging economies to cut fossil fuel and cut those emissions so that the window in the future is beginning to close. In October 2018, the scientists of the world, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, did a special report on the world staying at 1.5 degrees warming above pre-industrial standards. They were asked to look at the difference between 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees because both were in the goal of Paris. And they said the whole world must stay at 1.5 degrees. And to do that, they advised us, indeed they warned us, we need to reduce by 45% global carbon emissions by 2030 and then reach net zero by 2050. And as you well know, we're not on course for that. We're not nearly on course for that. We're on course for a world at 2.7 degrees or worse, into 3 degrees, which would be catastrophic. So I believe we need to change the narrative on climate and to make it a positive narrative. We all need to ask ourselves a question. What if our best world is still ahead of us? And it is. It's the world that is a clean energy world with clean energy jobs. It's a world where cities will be great places to live because they'll be green. They'll have gardens. They'll even have farms in the city. We produce food in cities. And they'll be places to walk, places to cycle around. The countryside will be rewilded. We'll have much more conservation architecture because we have to restore the biodiversity and have restoration as part of agriculture. So it'll also be a world where developing countries will have access to clean energy, and that will take them out of poverty and give them jobs much quicker than anything else. So I want to use my brief message to invite the trade union movement to join with what we are already doing as women leaders. A group of us as women leaders have already started a movement, a climate justice movement, with a very positive narrative based on that question, that our best world is ahead of us, and we want that choice, because otherwise we would head for a worse world. So we want that best world. We want to join with young climate activists, with indigenous communities. We're involving the progressive elements in the private sector, and there are some, as Sharon Burrow and myself well know, and faith-based groups and everyone. And I think what we want is pressure on the big emitters who are not doing enough, but also a positive sense of what we can all do. And I think we can all take 3 steps, and I'm going to conclude with this. First of all, we can make the climate crisis personal in our lives. And that means we do something to reduce our own carbon footprint. Secondly, we get angry with those who haven't done enough, which is our movement pressure. Thirdly, we imagine this world we all need to be hurrying towards, and that's the question. What if our best world is still ahead of us? It is, and we must choose and fight for it, and fight for the jobs it will bring and the future that it will bring. And let's all remember, because I'm chair of the elders, the words of Nelson Mandela, who said very succinctly, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So I wish you a very successful 5th World Congress, and I hope that the trade union movement will step up enormously over the coming years. Thank you.
Let me now invite Sharon to introduce our next speaker.
I have a very special guest for you. You've all enjoyed the hospitality in this centre all week, and I'm going to tell you that this centre is unionised, and invite the MEAA delegate David Hayden to the mic.
Thank you. I hope you've all enjoyed the hospitality of our humble union convention centre. I'd like to thank all our staff and members here from the kitchens who've made all the food for you, for our customer service staff who help you to your seats, to our food and beverage staff, loading dock, like all the members across here, but especially of the members that are dear to my heart because it's my department, our technical service team. So I'd really hope that you could give a round of applause to our technicians up the back and behind the stage who've made all the lights and the sound and all those sorts of things work for our things. And thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate you making the time for me to be on stage today. Thank you.
What a joy. Even the staff member who this morning wouldn't let me in without my credentials. I love them all. They've just been so great to all of us. So give them one more round of applause. David, please convey our thanks. And now I have one more special treat for you. Lisette, where are you? Lisette Risgaard, who of course was the host of our last convention in Copenhagen, which also was a magnificent time to be together. Lisette.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. And first of all, I wanted to thank the Victorian Trade Hall for hosting the reception yesterday. It was a fantastic evening. It was so good that we could visit this fantastic place, the oldest working assembly building in the world, and meeting point for Australian labour movement the last 150 years. And now, as many of you saw, restored with respect for good craftsmanship. The second oldest workers' building is located in Copenhagen. Come and visit it again. Where the Workers' Museum is located. Buildings like Trade Hall and the Danish Workers' Museum in Copenhagen are cultural heritage from the top shelf. They are the symbol of collaboration and solidarity among workers, having this decisive impact on the development and defense of workers' rights virtually all over the world. Without unity, we will never solve the great changes in the future, and these buildings remind us of that. I'm therefore very pleased that we are collaborating to nominate a number of workers' assembly buildings around the world for the UNESCO World Heritage List. It's a very important project, and let's make an apply for global solidarity and pay tribute to the ones who fought before us. So help me with that.
Thank you very much, thank you. Colleagues, at this point, please join me in inviting Liz Schuler, Chair of the Credentials Committee, to present the committee's final report, including result of election of President, Deputy President, Vice President, Deputy General Secretaries, and Auditor. Liz, you have the floor, please. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brother Ayuba. And I just want to take a moment also to thank you for your outstanding leadership, Brother Ayuba. We've heard it all week, but you are a powerful, powerful example of what leaders should be. So thank you. Good morning, everyone. I can't believe this is the last day of the Congress. It's finally here. The Credentials Committee has completed its work. This is our final report. But as the rules require, we had to consider the election results of the General Council for the positions of President, Deputy Presidents, Vice Presidents, and Deputy General Secretaries. So I can now announce that all election results have been ratified. So I will name our new leaders and ask those who are in the room to stand up as I call your names, and we will all give them a warm welcome. So first is Akiko Gono of J2UC Rengo, Japan, elected unanimously as ITUC President. Congratulations, Sister Gono. I don't know if she's here. And she will speak to us later this morning, so we will hear from her. Kathy Feingold from AFL-CIO USA, and Antonio de Lisboa from CUT Brazil are the new ITUC Deputy Presidents. Owen Tudor is confirmed in his position, and that's right, Jordania Ureña Lora from TUCA, and Eric Manzi, ITUC Africa. All three are the new ITUC Deputy General Secretaries. And I know Owen is maybe happy this morning after the World Cup match between the USA and Wales, a tie 1-1. So the General Council also elected 34 vice presidents. They are listed in our report. You will find it on the website. I'm not going to read out all the names, but I do ask all General Council vice presidents to please stand. If you're in the room, we can see you. Okay? Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. I also want to acknowledge Playman Dimitrov from CTUB, Bulgaria, who renews his mandate as chair of the Human and Trade Union Rights Committee. Thank you very much. Yoshiko Norimatsu from JTUC Rengo, Japan, who is the new chair, and Shaban Vaipan from CLC Canada, who is the new vice chair of the ITUC Women's Committee. Congratulations. And for the ITUC Youth Committee, we have Satyajit Reddy Gangola from INTUC India, and Christian Paiva from CUT Brazil as the new chair and vice chair of the ITUC Youth Committee. Thank you for stepping up into leadership. So congratulations to all that have been elected. Looks like a fabulous leadership team. We wish them every success in their new positions. And with your permission, Chair, I would like to use just 1 minute to again thank you, Sharon Burrow, who has been just such a beacon of light for all of us. And of course, the entire leadership team for what has just been an amazing Congress. Can we just give everyone a hand? The leadership team for the amazing Congress we've all had this last week. I think it sets us up on a path forward for the new leadership of Luca Vicentini and the new team that is going to be moving us forward. I also want to extend a special thank you to the members of the Credentials Committee. This has not been an easy job, I will just tell you, but we had excellent teamwork. And I have learned a lot throughout this process myself. It's been an absolute privilege to serve as chair of the Credentials Committee. I also want to thank Felix for his great partnership with the Standing Orders Committee. And last but certainly not least, I would like to thank our support team. My own colleague, Laura Gutierrez from the AFL-CIO International Department, as well as Christine, Adrian, Jaron from the ITUC as the Credentials Committee Secretariat. They were absolutely flawless in their support of our committee. And I just want to say a big thank you for making the job so smooth. And Philippe and Mateus from the ITUC also for the, or Matthew, I'm sorry, Matthew, for the election process, because this was our first electronic vote. And it may have seemed easy for all of you, but behind the scenes, it was a very stressful time because we wanted everything to work perfectly, and it did. So I want to thank them for the very smooth process. So brothers and sisters, this has been a fantastic Congress. I know I will carry this energy home with me. I hope you all will too, to return and fight for workers' rights in our countries and move forward more united and stronger together globally. Thank you so much, and back to you, Brother Ayuba.
Thank you very much, Liz, and your team for this very excellent work. Colleagues, I then put forward the result of the election as presented by Liz Schuler on behalf of the Credentials Committee for your approval. Can we approve? Approved. I wish to congratulate all those that have been elected, and I think we'll have a session to actually hear from the General Secretary and the President. Already is indicated on the agenda. Without much ado, let me now invite Felix Antony, Chair of the Standing Order Committee, to present his final report and also move 3 resolutions.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, the plenary already yesterday approved the solidarity statement to the workers and the people of Iran, and also advised that the draft Congress statement with the amendments indicated in the track changes was on the Congress website and would be put for adoption today. I am pleased now to report the outcome of the Standing Orders Committee's further discussions. This involves 2 draft resolutions which have been posted on the Congress website in the original English language last evening, and following translation overnight in Brussels, the translated version of these were posted this morning. The first of those in the draft resolution entitled Russia's Invasion of Ukraine, Peace, Democracy and Rights. The document reference number for this is 5CO/5B Roman 1. I want now to propose an additional action point on campaigning to free imprisoned trade unionists in Belarus. The second is a draft resolution entitled Combating the Far Right. The document reference number is 5CO/5B Roman 3. Colleagues, the draft Congress statement was tabled yesterday. Chair, I now move that it be adopted.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Antony. Colleagues, I then request that we adopt the 2 statements that have been presented. Can we approve? Thank you. Approved.
Thank you. Colleagues, I now move that the draft resolution on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, peace, democracy and rights be adopted with the additional action point on Belarus. Chair.
Thank you. I also move that we adopt this resolution on Belarus. Can we approve, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, I now move that the draft resolution combating the far right be adopted. Chair.
Colleagues, can we also adopt this resolution? Adopted.
Chair, I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the committee for their constructive and positive engagement, and also the ITUC staff on the committee and translators in Brussels for their excellent work. Without them, our work would have been almost impossible. Thank you, Chair, and that now concludes the work of the standing orders. But before I take leave, I would also like to put on record my sincere thanks to Sister Liz Kula and the Credentials Committee for their cooperation and the hard work that they've put in to make this Congress a success. And of course, all the assistance that was rendered during the election of the General Secretary. Chair, I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Please join me in appreciating Felix Antony and all the members of the Standing Order Committee for an excellent job. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your commitment and also the excellent job you have been able to deliver. Thank you. Colleagues, at this point, we'll receive a video message from the Prime Minister of Barbados.
I come from and have the honor of leading a small island in the Caribbean Sea, whose stability and progress is largely due to the core values, mission, and work of the trade union movement. And while much of the daily media coverage is locked on to macroeconomic turmoil, you, better than most, understand the micro impact. Workers literally face a world changing right before their very eyes. Pandemics changing the way that they work, the climate crisis impacting where they can work, and the war in Ukraine and its knock-on effects dictating if they can work. The result of which has been job insecurity, price hikes, and untold mental strain on everyday workers and families. The reality is, your 200 million members across this earth need your leadership now, more so than ever. Indeed, much of my global advocacy has been about a call for a global moral strategic leadership. And that doesn't only come within governments. It comes from wherever people are prepared to take those stands from a moral basis and on strategic issues and across the globe. You heard me address the need for immediate action and reform regarding the climate crisis many times. And when I spoke at the 76th session of the UN General Assembly, I had emphasized then that we have the means to invest in protecting the most vulnerable on our planet from a change in climate, but we choose not to do so. Not because we don't have enough, but because we do not have the will to distribute that which we have. And it is also, regrettably, because the faceless few do not fear the consequences sufficiently. My friends, ours is and has been a rallying cry for the ushering in of a period of global calm and focused cooperation. Cooperation on issues that concern us all. Global public goods, such as the climate reform and action needed to fight the climate crisis and the groundwater crisis. The ability to fight pandemics, be it the COVID-19 pandemic or the antimicrobial resistance pandemic. The global pursuit of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the normal development trajectory that we want for our people in our countries. And ultimately, the reshaping of the global financial system and multilateral reform in order to allow us to achieve those global public goods in an easier and more comfortable way. As Prime Minister of a small country, I understand more acutely than most the value of cooperation and harmony in the pursuit of problem solving. I understand the important role that trade unions play in developing and managing a country. In Barbados, all of our government's major decision-making has gone through, for over 3 decades now, our tripartite social partnership framework. Trade unions such as your member and our affiliated colleague who is with you, who is a member of parliament in my parliament, Tony Moore, General Secretary in the Barbados Workers' Union, they all work with us together to ensure that in collaboration with government and the private sector and the other unions, that there are critical areas of concern and development that we can address for the betterment of workers and for the betterment of all of our citizens and ultimately our country. Before closing, my friends, I'm happy to share with you, yes, that on the 1st of September of this year, Barbados became the 20th country to ratify the Violence and Harassment at Work Convention, better known as number 190. This, as the government continues to recognize that even as the country continues to tackle the macro challenges, the guarantee of rights and the other tenets of decent work must remain at the heart of our goal for a sustainable future that guarantees workers' security and opportunity. And that is why even in the middle of an IMF program, we moved to put a minimum wage for our people, because we understood that it is always the right time to do the right thing, irrespective of how cloudy it is outside. My friends, it is against this backdrop that I salute the ITUC, the world's largest trade union federation. You hold such an incredible responsibility for creating greater stability and sustainability in our world today by defending workers' rights and interests globally. As Barbados joins your membership through the BWU, the Barbados Workers' Union, I know that many of your constituents from around the world share my sense of concern about the uncertain global challenges that we face. But I also know that many of your constituents, like me, are resolute and unwaveringly optimistic that together, in solidarity, together, when we put people at the core of our decisions, yes, we can make the world a better place. On behalf of the government and people of Barbados, I wish you all every success during your Congress. The ITUC has the ability to make meaningful change in our world. And together, we look forward, therefore, to seeing us reach to the point where the new social contract cannot be a topic of conversation or speeches, but will come to reality for the betterment of our people. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prime Minister. Thank you, thank you. Colleagues will now continue the debate on the Congress statement this morning. We have 15 persons on the list. Let me invite Jacqueline from USO Spain. Please let us try to respect the 3 minutes time allotted to each speaker, because we need to get the 15 persons on our speaking list through before we take other items. Jacqueline, USO Spain, and then Maria from CUT Brazil should be on standby.
Good morning, buenos días. Desde la USO de España reciban un fraternal saludo a a los que componemos esta gran CSI. También decir muy rápidamente, dar las gracias a Sharon por la gestión de todos estos años. Pues también gracias a Kemal por fomentar ese debate interno. Una organización sana pues tiene pluralidad interna y tiene debate interno, es síntoma de salud. Enhorabuena, por supuesto, a Luca y a todos los líderes que hemos elegido. Estamos seguros que vais a dirigir esta CSI a grandes objetivos y vamos a conseguir muchísimos éxitos. Y estos días hemos compartido con todos pues, muchísimas preocupaciones económicas, laborales, sociales, toda la cuestión de la guerra en Ucrania, por supuesto todos los retos climáticos, y coincidimos que es un momento histórico que nos toca vivir y que nos toca pelear con ese nuevo contrato social que demandamos, que en definitiva es decir al mundo entero que sí o sí la solución tiene que pasar por el empleo de calidad, por los derechos y libertades, por la protección social, la igualdad y la inclusión. Salimos también de este Congreso con una CSI más reivindicativa, más en lucha y, por supuesto, pues como se ha dicho, también más en acción. La acción es nuestra fuerza. No nos quedemos solos en la palabra, ¿no? Lo que nos hace fuertes, sobre todo, es nuestra capacidad de acción conjunta. Por eso quiero terminar haciendo una propuesta a la mesa, y a Lucas, si lo considera así, para que hagamos un gesto. En esta red social que tenemos aquí arriba, esta semana hemos visto cómo el dueño de esta red social ha apretado a sus trabajadores, les ha mandado una serie de comunicados diciendo que o pisotean sus derechos y renuncian a sus derechos laborales o pueden coger sus cosas e irse de su empresa. Yo propongo que hoy aquí hagamos un tuit desde la CSI de condena a Musk por ese modelo empresarial mezquino que quiere imponer, y en segundo lugar que hagamos un paro de 15 minutos en esta red social, todas las 212 organizaciones, y que sea la primera acción que hagamos después de este Congreso. Nada más. Viva el sindicalismo internacional y viva la CSI.
Thank you, thank you. Maria should be on standby. Let me invite Asamoah Ba, UNSLG Guinea, to come forward. Ba, ONSLG Guinea.
Camarades, salut. Je suis Asma Ouba, je viens de la République de Guinée. Je suis de l'Organisation nationale des syndicats libres de Guinée, présidente du réseau africain des travailleurs domestiques. Je suis heureuse de participer à ce 5e congrès de la CSI. Le thème de notre congrès est très intéressant car il résume presque tout le problème qui nous réunit ici. Je vais parler du nouveau contrat social. Parlant du nouveau contrat social, nous parlons de garantir les droits, des emplois, la protection sociale, l'inégalité, l'inclusion. Est vrai pour que tous les pays membres de l'OIT ratifient la Convention 190 relative à la violence et le harcèlement dans le milieu du travail, sans oublier la Convention 189 qui protège ces travailleurs de l'ombre qui exercent leur métier derrière les portes, loin des regards. Je parle des travailleurs domestiques. Nous avons parlé ici des problèmes des travailleurs d'Ukraine, les syndicalistes emprisonnés à Hong Kong et d'autres. Je voudrais souligner qu'en Afrique de l'Ouest, les coups d'État militaires répétés occasionnent l'instabilité dans nos pays qui entraînent la perte du travail pour certains, empêchent l'emploi décent des travailleurs, poussent la jeunesse à l'immigration clandestine en allant mourir par des milliers dans la Méditerranée à la recherche d'un lendemain meilleur, pensant à un emploi décent et une vie décente. Cette instabilité politique occasionne le déplacement de plusieurs femmes et enfants à quitter leur région d'origine, avec les risques que cela comporte tels que la violence sous toutes ses formes, la délinquance juvénile, les grossesses non désirées, etc. Chers camarades, j'invite la CSI à une solidarité dans l'action qui pourrait trouver une solution aux travailleurs qui vivent dans ces pays. Merci au syndicat australien qui nous a reçus très chaleureusement. Grand merci à la camarade Sharon et toute son équipe. Et félicitations au nouveau secrétaire général de la CSI, camarade Lucas. Vive la CSI, vive la solidarité syndicale. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Sister Memuna. I now invite Muhangora from ITUC and Namibia.
The ultimate measure of the man is not during the time of convenience and comfort, but it's during the time of controversy and challenges. That was said by Martin Luther Jr. some times back. And I'm sure that this Congress agree that for the last 4 years was a time of challenges and controversy. And that's why we are proud of them, because they have taken us through that process. So we are very thankful for head table. Of course, Luca, who is coming in with your team, the other 4 years ahead will still be characterized by challenges and controversy. Therefore, we need to stand together. We started this Congress on a very good pace, where we tried to recognize the rights of indigenous, the rights to self-determination. However, in Africa, we still have Western Sahara that requires also to be offered an opportunity for them to determine their destiny, equally with the Palestinian. So this Congress, we need to make sure that we really support them where possible. The other component, colleagues, we have seen that our principal positions are being distorted because we have become very lazy, just like many parliaments in the world, which always pass very lousy laws for those laws to be written by judiciary. And those judiciaries are captured by capital. So it's very important that when we are putting through our Congress statements, we are explicit and deliberately emphasize what we mean. The citizens of the world don't require jobs. They don't need jobs. They don't need social protection. They don't need social dialogue. Neither they need rights. What they need is decent, sustainable jobs. What they need is universal, comprehensive, non-discriminatory social protection. What they need is inclusive social dialogue. And what they need is to enjoy universal, fundamental human rights. So we should never be lazy and trying to think that if we say we need jobs, everybody understands what we mean. I have seen and observed it, that the way they are now trying to rewrite the word just transition, it is to compromise us. So it's very important for us to know that when we are making policy statement, we are clear and explicit. Most very much brutal capitalists, they have been saying that by sucking the blood of the workers, it means just transition. So when we are talking about the issues of energy, we are talking about public path. So it's very important that we need to be explicit, and we are very thankful for the Congress. I'll continue.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I now invite Stephen Cotton from ITF to please come and take the podium. And remembrance from FEDUSA should be on standby.
Good morning. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we meet and pay my respects to the elders, past, present and emerging. Good morning, Congress. How are we? Let me congratulate my friend Luca, my good friend, on his fantastic victory. We witnessed on Sunday a truly democratic moment. 90 million votes cast. You're part of democracy, brothers and sisters. Truly democratic. Kamal, congratulations for running a fair and transparent campaign. Now the work starts. Now we have to build the unity. Sharon, on behalf of all of the Global Council of Unions, thank you very much. 12 amazing years, a mentor for so many people. Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for all you've done for the transport workers. We will truly miss you so much. But I am confident, amongst all the offers you've got, you will continue amazing work. Brothers and sisters, transport workers are the front line. We literally move the world. But we have so much to do. This week we've discussed so many things, but there is key things we need to have. A binding treaty, an ILO action on supply chains and the challenges in platforms. We have to hold multinationals accountable for their disrespect to union rights. We need good union wages. We need to be clear what the message is. Universal social protection, genuine equality and inclusion. We also need to ensure that young workers can have voices in all of our structures and challenge us to be ready for the future. Shamefully, in transport, we don't have enough women. Our numbers in seafarers is less than 1%. We must work to change our working environment to ensure the exclusions of women are taken away and they are in a safe place to come and take their share of the market and good jobs. Brothers and sisters, we have no time to waste. I'm watching the clock go down. It's critical. It's very important. The resolution, a standalone resolution on Iran, enjoys all of our collective support. And it's imperative that we speak with one voice, yes, one voice, about how we deal with these challenges. Brothers and sisters, this has been a really amazing Congress. But the most important message is we have so much to do. And the only way to do that is when we stand shoulder to take each and every one of those fights. Brothers and sisters, peace, life, justice, freedom and equality ITUC, viva!
Thank you. I now invite Remembrance Fedusa to take the floor. Thank you.
Greetings to all esteemed leaders and to all the workers around the world. I stand here as a young worker who appreciates the benefits of being part of a trade union and being part of organizations that value the input of young workers. Thank you to the ITUC for a brilliant Congress statement. I'd like to bring focus on two statements and a commitment on jobs and inclusion. Recognizing Statement 106 that says the central priority for the ITUC is the defense and promotion of workers' rights. Wherever workers are under attack, the international trade union movement must be ready to respond rapidly and with collective strength. As we all saw, jobs were destroyed by COVID-19. Youth unemployment continued to be a problem. There's an increased cost of violence and harassment in the world of work. The fourth industrial revolution poses a serious threat on many jobs. Climate change is a serious threat for the African continent. Young workers are highest employed in precarious work industries such as the gig economy and platform work. Therefore, trade unions are under a serious risk of dying. I'd like to highlight the urgency for unions to invest in strategies for the integration of youth into trade unions through revitalization of trade unions. This can be done by educating young workers on the fundamental principles and values of trade unionism, developing strategies for the inclusion of the LGBTQI community in plus workers, developing effective communication strategies that are constant and will encourage the youth to read and give them independent thinking skills that will keep them informed and involved in society. Education for trade union-specific activities, example, politics, international and industrial relations, economics, financial auditing, etc., thus enabling the union to invest in their own members and utilize them for the decent work agenda. Provision on research expertise that will provide detailed responses that are labor-sensitive and industry-specific to assist in the challenges that labor finds itself in. Example, the global adaptation to impacts of climate change, especially on the African countries, so that labor can develop tangible strategic implementation plans to retain and create new jobs. However, this work requires budgets, and in order for the budgets to be effective, they need to be centered around democratic structures. Structures that are youth-centered and promote the participation of democratic and decision-making processes of unions. As young workers, we urge our trade unions to constitutionalize these structures so that the ITUC's Congress commitment to support trade unions through organizing, including a particular focus on organizing young workers, can be set into motion. Lastly, may I please just leave you with a quote by myself that says, "Invest in young workers because they are the wheels that will drive the trade union movement into greater dimensions."
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite King Zhang-un, C2EM Myanmar. C2EM Myanmar.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Confederation of Trade Unions Myanmar, allow me to congratulate to all of us on holding this first Congress of ITUC. We congratulate Brother Luca being elected as General Secretary of ITUC. I joined Federation of Trade Unions Burma while it was still struggling as an underground movement in 2007, a year after the founding Congress of the ITUC. Since then, I have been introduced to the worker rights struggle by the ITUC, ITUC-AB, and various global trade unions. I am proud to say that I am a product of the ITUC-AB Youth Leadership Training Program and the ITUC Organizing Program in the ILO INDC training. Let me thank Sister Sharon Barrow and Brother Shoya, who personally came to meet the fledgling FTUB leaders in Thailand together with Sister Susan Hoggood around year 2000, many years before I joined. And since that time, Sister Sharon has been a very consistent and strong supporter of the trade union movement, as well as the fight for democracy. I take this opportunity to thank the ITUC, all the global union federations, and the support organizations who have supported the Burma struggle for so many years and still remain steadfast in their commitment and support. I report to Congress that due to the military coup, we are once again underground within the country. We are not in exile. Our president is within Burma, and many of our young workers working with other activists are hosting lightning strikes and demonstrations within the country. We coordinate and support them. I am the only one representative that can move around internationally of the CTUM as well as Myanmar Labour Alliance in the IWFM. For the Honda has issued arrest warrant for all 28 Central Committee members of the CTUM and also declared void our passports. Within the democratic movement, Myanmar Labour Alliance, where we are a founding member since 2019, is a member of National Unity Consultative Council, where our president, Brother Mau is a council member. This NUCC discusses and set down the policy for the movement in our system change struggle, where we all look forward to a system free from any kind of dictatorship and with a federal democratic governing system. All of these would not happen.
Thank you.
Lastly, I want to say all of these would not have taken place without the help from all of you. The CTUM Myanmar Labour Alliance promised to the ITUC in the global union that we are committed to in the way work harder to move the dictatorship. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now invite Lina Maria Kut, Colombia. And Pia from SEC Thailand should be on standby.
Buenos días para todos y todas. Desde esta tribuna quiero manifestar varios elementos, entre ellos que no olvidemos que la contradicción capital-trabajo persiste y que mientras exista la explotación será difícil poder alcanzar una justicia social. En ese contexto, la lucha de clases permanece y los derechos se conquistan y se defienden con la lucha y la movilización. En ese sentido, es importante enfatizar que el sindicalismo y los trabajadores de todo el mundo deben mantener una lucha anticapitalista, antiimperialista, antifascista y antipatriarcal. Y más ahora, cuando quedó evidenciado que las consecuencias y los costos de la pandemia del COVID-19 recayeron sobre los trabajadores y trabajadoras, cuando somos nosotros y nosotras los que generamos la riqueza. Y eso se dio especialmente en el sector de la salud, las tecnologías, las labores del cuidado, en donde se ubican mayoritariamente los jóvenes y las mujeres. En ese contexto y en la crisis económica en la que nos encontramos, el sindicalismo debe jugar un papel muy importante frente a esta situación y debe ser en el que nos sumemos en un llamado para exigir que se suspenda el pago de la deuda externa y de los onerosos intereses que está generando, en donde se dan los costos de hambre y miseria. Estos recursos deberían invertirse en educación, salud, alimentación, agua y cuidado del medio ambiente. Del mismo modo, los cambios acelerados en el mundo del trabajo y todo lo que implica la era de la tecnología, la digitalización, la inteligencia artificial y demás, y demás hace que el sindicalismo tenga que analizar de manera crítica las nuevas formas de organizar a la nueva clase trabajadora, especialmente a los jóvenes que son los que mayoritariamente se ubican en este sector. En el caso colombiano tenemos la plataforma tipo Delivery Rappi, en donde ya se da ejemplos de sindicalización y junto con la CUT se lidera la organización de los trabajadores de esta forma. Pero es urgente pensarnos el futuro del movimiento sindical. Y ese futuro del movimiento sindical debe incluir a las mujeres, no simplemente buscando que se ratifique el convenio 190, sino buscar acciones y mecanismos para que las mujeres sigamos llegando a las instancias de dirección de la organización sindical y que en esas instancias también se pueda incluir a la juventud, que cada vez más es más apática al sindicalismo y necesitamos que llegue y fortalezca su participación acá. Por otra parte, en Colombia se han presentado en los últimos 2 años 21 homicidios a sindicalistas, 5 atentados, 8 detenciones arbitrarias y 150 amenazas de muerte. Urge precisamente que se dé una voz para que se agilice la implementación de los acuerdos de paz de La Habana con las FARC, para que se dé un cese y se dé una paz también con el Ejército de Liberación Nacional, se desmonte el paramilitarismo, pero que ese llamado de paz también se pueda reflejar en todo el mundo, para que exijamos que se retiren las bases norteamericanas que están en el territorio colombiano y en toda nuestra América, para que pidamos la soberanía de los pueblos, de las naciones y la autodeterminación. Un minutico más. Y que podamos precisamente sumarnos a que rechacemos la intromisión de la OTAN en los estados y en los distintos territorios en todo el mundo. La paz global, la paz completa no puede ser solo con un lado, debe ser para todos y todas. Y por último, quiero manifestar la solidaridad, y este Congreso lo debe hacer también, con los más de 6.500 trabajadores que han muerto en medio de la construcción y los preparativos del Mundial de Fútbol que se está llevando en Qatar. No se justifica que tanto recurso que se esté gastando en este evento no se esté reflejando en la salud y en el cuidado de los trabajadores y trabajadoras que son los que están allí. Por último, que el sindicalismo mundial sea un sindicalismo que se mueva y luche por la movilización y por los derechos de la clase trabajadora. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, thank you. I now invite Pia from ITUC, Thailand.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Pia Kritia Kirana. I'm here on behalf of Brother Manop Gurrat, the General Secretary of State Enterprise Workers Relations Confederation, Thailand, or ITUC. Brother Manop unfortunately could not attend the Congress, so let's hear his message. I'm deeply sorry that I had contracted the virus, which kept me from attending the 5th ITUC Congress. The pandemic has so much impact. Thailand is not much different from other countries. The workers have to deal with the loss of jobs, especially in the civil sector. Work-from-home policy caused the cost of living to inflate. Workers have been laid off. The number of workers in the informal sector skyrockets. Migrant workers have been forced to go back home or forced to stay in the construction workers' camp, which had the brutal living condition. This also led to the Industry 4.0, which accelerated on replacing human workforce with the machines. Thai government still continue to divide workers. They prohibit many workers, such as the public employees and civil servants, and also migrant workers, to form union. They are also trying to push for a new law in the state-owned enterprise, which violate international labor standards and human rights. It is a downgrade from the existing law, and that's why ITUC is now opposing and demanding Thai government to withdraw the draft of State Enterprise Labor Relations Act immediately. The anti-union still continue to rise because Thai labor law does not protect workers who are organized. Despite the previous IO complaint filed by GOVs such as Industry or ITF, and despite the previous U.S. suspension of GSP trade benefits in 2019, Thai government still does not do a better job protecting rights to freedom of association and collective bargaining. For example, instead of the pride which the state railway union leaders, including our former General Secretary Sawit Kawan, just barely escaped the prison. They have spent over a decade struggling against the state prosecution for trying to campaign for train safety and simply for trying to protect life. Another president of our affiliate union, the Liquor Distillery Organization Workers Union, is currently being indicted, and the leadership and membership of the union are being harassed. In the private sector, At least 2 companies that supply for Japanese automobile Honda Motor have been found by Thai jurisdiction of illegally firing the worker who organized and bargained. However, Thai labor law only makes the company just pay to buy out the worker instead of forcing the company to reinstate those workers. Of course, Honda is not the only company in Thailand that disregards the workers who are in the supply chain. In fact, this is likely how most, if not all, companies, especially the multinational, operate in Thailand. And that's why we are still the country with one of the lowest union density in the world, with only 1.5%. Worker unity, fight against global capitalism, building new society and people democracy. This will be the voice of freedom on the critical struggle for workers all over the world to access the basic international rights and to access them justly and equally. In solidarity, Manop Gilrat, General Secretary, State Enterprise Worker Relations Confederation, Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia, thank you. I now invite Lazavita, BKDP Belarus.
Let me first express my deepest respect to the traditional owners of this land and the leaders. Brothers and sisters, my name is Lizaveta Mirlyak, and I am a Belarusian extremist and a refugee in Germany. Talking about a new social contract, we should all remember that it is not possible without democracy at workplace, with no freedom of association. The freedom of association had been stolen from Belarusian workers this year, with the dictatorship closing down the Belarusian Congress of Democratic Trade Unions. I'd like to thank you all, comrades, for your outstanding solidarity with our beloved brother, Alexander Yarashuk. However, unfortunately, he's not the only union leader who is in jail in Belarus. It's 36 of our brothers and sisters who are facing 2 to 15 years of imprisonment at the moment. I call on the ITUC to launch a wide campaign for their liberation and for reinstatement of democratic unions in Belarus. I would like to use this opportunity to address the global union federations and ask them to consider expulsion of state yellow Lukashenko unions from our ranks. Comrades, it's an embarrassment. They poison our movement. Union busters, strike breakers, they keep making things worse by witnessing against our leaders in courts at the moment. And finally, comrades, we have recently launched an online Labor Start solidarity campaign to free the jailed unionists in Belarus. It's been translated into 12 languages so far and already got support of over 6,000 unionists all over the world. But let us show that we are not just a couple of thousands, we are millions here in the ITUC. Please make sure that your rank and file members join the campaign and show their solidarity. Thank you very much. Solidarity forever.
Thank you, and thank you. Thank you, solidarity, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I now invite Harry Hibat, Chukta, Tanzania.
Solidarity forever. Good afternoon or good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, world. Good morning, the Congress. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Congress for the election done, and also congratulations for all those leaders who have been elected to take us through in the next coming 4 years. I congratulate the General Secretary-elect, Brother Luka, and also congratulate very much our outgoing General Secretary, Sister Sharon, for a good work done. The future of our unions is based on the existing members we have, and mostly the young workers we are having. The problem now we are facing in most of our unions is the organizing young workers, most young workers, they find unions or joining the workers' movement in their countries is not of priority. I would call then the deliberate efforts to create enabling environment and the strategies to beautify the environment for these young workers to join the workers' movement in their countries. As it has been said, we only have 10% of young workers in this Congress. We have to improve the systems from the beginning, from back home. Attending the Congress is a secondary, but we need to have the primary movement, deliberate efforts to make sure these young workers are being connected to various structures back home to different levels. Give them seats in our decision-making structures so that they can advance to various levels and also come part and parcel of the workers' movement worldwide. I would call to give them chances and seats, as I said, to decision-making structures back to our confederation, back to our unions, so that they can advance to these higher levels. I'll congratulate the good work of this Congress. I congratulate Brother Luca, and please, you have a very big task to make sure you fit into the shoes of Sister Sharon. So we also promise you a good support so that we move together.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to say the future of the trade unionism is with the youth. Let us invest in them so that they fit into the higher levels. Thanks very much.
Thank you, and thank you. I now invite Ligia from CUT, Colombia.
Desde Colombia nos unimos al saludo solemne de los ancestros de estas tierras y a los demás pueblos indígenas del mundo. Saludamos a los integrantes de la mesa que hoy preside el secretariado de nuestra Confederación Internacional y a la composición de su equipo dada hoy a conocer por la Comisión de Credenciales. Hoy, hombres y mujeres trabajadores de las Américas, nos preparamos para enfrentar un periodo de alta complejidad social y económica afirmada en la fortaleza de algunos gobiernos alternativos y en la capacidad de movilización y lucha de las organizaciones sindicales con una formulación política sindical construida en las agendas y en la Carta de Navegación de la Plataforma de Desarrollo de las Américas. Con los postulados de la Plataforma Laboral de las Américas, enriquecemos el contrato social para responder a los cambios políticos y los retos que nos plantea el mundo hoy y todos nuestros gobiernos de transición que tenemos en las Américas y al cual le presentamos nuestra agenda en esta etapa. Le apostamos a un modelo que ponga en el centro de la vida el cuidado de la vida y por ello las mujeres. Nos reunimos hoy con el Comité Internacional, con las mujeres de la Comisión Internacional de la CSI para decir que confiamos en la apuesta por la vida, en que el cuidado de la vida sea una composición general y que las negociaciones colectivas tengan el enfoque de género y la división sexual del trabajo como puntos fundamentales para nuestras reivindicaciones y poder erradicar tantos flagelos que nos llevan a no ejercer nuestros liderazgos como debe ser. Por último, Colombia camina hacia la paz total. Bastante compleja, pero posible. Y este principio de paz debe ser asumido desde la Confederación Sindical Internacional con el respeto por la soberanía y autodeterminación de los pueblos, el rechazo a la guerra venga de donde venga y la voz fuerte de las mujeres que nos levantamos contra el patriarcado en este planeta. Por eso invito a que este Congreso hoy repita conmigo 3 veces. Las mujeres no parimos hijos e hijas para la guerra. Juntas somos más. Otra vez, las mujeres no parimos hijos e hijas para la guerra. Juntas somos más. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. I now invite Celestine from Burundi to take the floor.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président, bonjour, Madame la Secrétaire Générale, bonjour tout le monde. Je suis du Burundi et notre organisation syndicale, la Confédération des syndicats du Burundi, COSIBU en sigle, s'est fixé un programme d'encadrement de syndicalisation des travailleuses et travailleurs de l'économie informelle. Comme vous le savez, l'économie informelle occupe plus ou moins 80% de l'économie dans les pays pauvres, dont le mien, le Burundi, et donc il est impérieux de travailler avec ce secteur, notamment par la promotion et la mise en œuvre de la recommandation 204 de l'OIT sur la formalisation, la transition de l'économie informelle vers l'économie formelle. Notre organisation, la COSIBU, est constituée à 70% d'affiliés provenant du secteur informel et nous souhaiterions que le nouveau contrat social mis en avant par la CSI donne une place non négligeable au secteur informel, lequel est vulnérable à plusieurs points de vue, notamment la précarité des emplois, spécialement ceux des femmes et des jeunes, la destruction de plusieurs emplois suite aux effets de la pandémie du Covid-19, les effets néfastes des changements climatiques et des crises environnementales, les tentatives de politisation du secteur par certaines autorités, notamment locales. Nous pensons, de la part de notre expérience, que l'atteinte du travail de ça dans ce secteur de l'économie informelle commence par la syndicalisation, l'accès universel à la protection sociale, la santé et sécurité au travail et la dynamisation du dialogue social. Depuis pas mal d'années, nous nous inscrivons dans cette optique avec l'appui des organisations partenaires, notamment belges comme la Confédération générale des syndicats libéraux de Belgique, pour que cette catégorie de travailleurs soit réellement partie prenante dans l'évolution du monde du travail, pour une meilleure formalisation à travers la mise en œuvre de la recommandation 204 et dans le cadre de la lutte contre la pauvreté. Merci encore pour le soutien permanent de la CSI aux organisations membres. Vive la solidarité syndicale internationale. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christine. Colleagues, we now have only 2 speakers to end our speaking list. So let me invite Christian, a youth delegate from DDB Germany, to take the floor.
Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, ich bin stellvertretender Bundesjugendvorsitzender der Gewerkschaft der Polizei in Deutschland und aktiv im DGB-Bundesjugendausschuss. Ich arbeite für die deutsche Polizei. Ich bin mir darüber bewusst, dass viele von euch sehr schlechte Erfahrungen mit der Polizei gemacht haben. Für mich ist es unerträglich zu sehen, wenn Streiks und andere Gewerkschaftsaktionen durch Polizistinnen in anderen Ländern brutal unterdrückt werden. Aus dieser Motivation heraus haben vor vielen Jahrzehnten Kolleginnen meine Gewerkschaft gegründet. Sie fanden es ebenfalls unerträglich, dass Polizistinnen ständig Streiks niederknüppeln mussten. Streiks von Familienmitgliedern und Freunden. Der Hitlerfaschismus hat dann erneut aufgezeigt, wie sehr die Polizei instrumentalisiert werden kann. Als Polizeibeschäftigte in Deutschland haben wir eine ganz besondere Verantwortung und setzen uns deshalb dafür ein, dass dieses Elend nie wieder die Welt ereilt. Wir wollen soziale Gerechtigkeit für alle Menschen und auch deshalb verstehen wir uns in der Gewerkschaft der Polizei als Teil der Arbeiterinnenbewegung und sind deshalb im DGB organisiert. In den vergangenen Tagen war häufig die Rede davon, dass wir die Jugend stärken müssen. Junge Menschen müssen erfahren, was Demokratie bedeutet. Wir Gewerkschaften streiten und kämpfen gemeinsam für eine bessere Zukunft und sind somit ein Garant für die Demokratie. Junge Menschen brauchen Räume zu experimentieren und sich zu entfalten. Wir als Gewerkschaften können sie bieten. Wenn die politische Teilhabe allerdings nicht gelebt wird, verkommt Demokratie zur leeren Worthülse. Demokratisches Denken fällt also nicht vom Himmel. Es muss erlernt und vorgelebt werden. Alle von euch außerhalb der Jugend haben die Verantwortung, diese Möglichkeiten zu bieten und dafür in Aktion zu treten. Wir als Jugend sind die Garantie dafür, dass Positionen kritisch hinterfragt werden. Davor muss man keine Angst haben, denn genau das kritische Hinterfragen führt zu besseren Ideen und zu besseren Aktionen. Um bildlich zu sprechen, auch junge Katzen müssen mal kratzen dürfen. Wir müssen uns an unseren eigenen Forderungen messen lassen. Gestern haben wir gehört, dass wir die 10% Jugendquote erreicht haben. Doch leider saß in den Nachmittagsforen hier in der Halle kein einziger junger Mensch auf dem Podium. Nicht mal im Podium zum Thema Inklusion. Wir haben in den letzten Tagen 7 Jugendreden gehört. Demgegenüber stehen fast 200 andere Reden. Woher kommt das? Der IGB muss noch einige Aktivitäten entfalten, um auch attraktiver für junge Menschen zu werden. Wenn wir es in den Gewerkschaften nicht schaffen, die Jugend zu ermächtigen, dann werden wir als Gewerkschaftsbewegung kläglich scheitern. Ich kann dazu sagen, wenn die Jugend darf, dann wird sie auch aktiv. Ich bin davon überzeugt, dass die neue IGB-Führung hier entsprechende Wege finden kann, wenn sie denn will, damit unsere internationale Gewerkschaftsbewegung sich nachhaltig verjüngen wird und die Stimme der jungen Menschen im IGB und der Welt noch stärker gehört wird. In diesem Sinne, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, Glück auf!
Thank you, Christian. Thanks, good Christian. You are the face of the future of our movement. And I agree with you, we should actually give enough space to the youths. Some of us started also at the age of 20. I remember that was when I started. So that is something that we should actually encourage. Last but not the least on our speaking list is Kasaou, who is a brand newly elected auditor from Setu, Ethiopia. You have the floor.
President Ayuba, Sister Sharon, Luca, Deputy General Secretaries, dear delegates. Sister Sharon, we Ethiopian workers and the trade union recognize noble and the solidarity work you have done to support us. Particularly, you came to our country to support our struggle against the labor law amendments which affected the rights of the Ethiopian workers, and you spoke to Ethiopian Prime Minister and succeeded to bring back the draft labor law to tripartite for discussion. Accordingly, the government brought back and we have discussed at the tripartite level, and the new labor law has been benefited by our members every single day. Distinguished delegates, yesterday we democratically elected new General Secretary Comrade Luca. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate Luca on behalf of the Horn of African Confederation of Trade Unions, ACTU, and in my capacity as the President of Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Unions, SETU. I am confident you deserve and I wish all the best. Dear delegates, sisters and brothers, the Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Unions, SETU, fully supports the peace agreement between the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, which was signed in Pretoria, South Africa. The Ethiopian Northern War started on 3 November 2020 in Tigray region, and which later extended to Amara and Afar regions. The war victimized civilian, women, children, and the workers. Particularly in the Tigray region, we have more than 70,000 members. However, since the war broke out, we don't have any information about them. Therefore, Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Unions was committed to support the implementation of the peace building. Hence, I call on the international community, governments, and the non-governmental organizations to support us to rehabilitate those affected by war. Dear delegates, the international labor movement is facing more challenge than ever before. No social justice, no social security, inequality, job security, gender-based violence, unemployment, climate change, freedom of association under attack, war, inflation, lack of decent work. Therefore, to resolve these problems as the trade union movement, we must unite and stand together. Finally, I would like to thank the African delegates and the Congress for electing me as the internal audit. I promise to serve with honesty and integrity. I thank you. Solidarity forever.
Thank you, Brother Kasau. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, colleagues, this brought us to the end of our speaking list. I will now invite you to listen attentively as we listen to a video message from Martin Walsh, the United States Secretary of Labor. It is very important because, as we are told yesterday, he is a card-carrying member of the union. And today, he's the Secretary of Labor of the United States of America. So, colleagues, I invite you to listen to Walsh. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is United States Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. Thank you to my friends, AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler and Secretary-Treasurer Fred Redmond, for your historic leadership of the U.S. labor movement and for inviting me to share a few words. And congratulations to the International Trade Union Confederation on your 5th World Congress. I am thrilled to see workers from around the world standing together. I'm proud to see American workers represented in Melbourne. And to General Secretary Sharon Burrow, congratulations on 12 years of groundbreaking leadership. The leaders at this Congress have helped guide working people through a time of tremendous difficulty. You have fought for members' health and safety, income relief and social support, and you're helping all workers fight for their rights. You've proven the value of unions, not just to working people, but to our economies and to our democracies. In the Biden-Harris administration, we share your values and we support your work. We have the most pro-worker, pro-labor president in administration in our nation's history. And at the Department of Labor, I'm committed to empowering all workers, morning, noon, and night. For example, we have created a first-of-its-kind tool for workers, the Workers Organizing Resource and Knowledge Center. It's a one-stop shop to help workers know their rights and act on them. And in just a few weeks, we're launching the Global Empower Initiative, a multilateral partnership for organizing, worker empowerment, and rights. I'm excited to see that the ITUC is a leader and a partner in this initiative, and I look forward to more of what we can do and what we can accomplish together. As a son of immigrants and a second-generation union laborer, I can proudly say that a union changed my family's life. And I know that the labor movement is changing lives all over the world. So keep organizing and keep fighting for all workers. And let's seize this moment to build a stronger, more empowered, and more inclusive workforce. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, thank you.
So, colleagues, I want to say thank you to Marty Walsh. There's only a few Labor, indeed, secretaries, ministers, or indeed presidents of countries who come from our ranks and who are entitled, as I tell him, and I used to tell Lula, they are entitled to give us advice. So every time I see, and I think Liz Shuler would agree, every time I see this man, Martin Walsh, he never fails to acknowledge he's a union man. He's a card-carrying union man. But he also never fails to actually tell us that we have to do what you and I know we have to do, and that's to organize.
Organize.
And organize. So we wanted him to say to you that the unions are at the centre of decent work for working people. And we thank him, Liz, on behalf of his global commitment to our movement.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, and thank you. Colleagues, at this moment, it's my real honor and privilege to invite the newly elected president of ITUC, Sister Akiko Gono, to come and speak to us. Akiko, you have the floor, please.
Dear colleagues and friends, first of all, I would like to express my thanks to the Aussie Australian colleagues. Thank you for your wonderful hospitality. Everybody here are enjoying everything here in Australia. Thank you very much, but except weather, cold weather. But anyway, you are wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. And also, thank you for electing me as the president of ITUC. Now I feel very honored, but at the same time overwhelmed by the pressure to take important tasks as the president of ITUC. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Sister Sharon and also Brother Ayuba and our top leaders of ITUC for their distinguished contributions and dedicated works and services. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I do not need to elaborate their valuable work here, since everybody knows your dedication and the result of your work. And when we look around here at the Congress Hall, we can see that more than 50% of the delegates are women. And Sharon, that's you. That is your achievement. Thank you very much indeed again. And let me assure you that a great achievement in the work of ITUC will remain many years to come. Also, I would like to congratulate Brother Luca Vincentini for your election as a General Secretary and other elected leaders. General Secretary Luca, I'm looking forward to working and cooperating with you to make stronger movement of ITUC. And I'm sure that you will guide us for the further vibrant ITUC. And I have a pleasure to be in your team. Thank you very much, Luca. Congratulations. And I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi's view on trade unions. Everyone knows that he is a father of India. At the same time, he was a trade unionist. Gandhi's view was that trade unions should not only undertake the functions connected with improving the economic conditions of workers, but must also try to raise the moral and the intellectual through internal efforts. He also emphasized that unions must not only be conscious of their rights, but also of their duties. I think his view is still relevant to us. Now, democracy is at the stake. As many of you expressed, like the Russian invasion to Ukraine, Belarus, Myanmar, and Hong Kong, just but name a few, to say democracy is indispensable for us, which is just water for fish. And at the same time, basic rights and freedom, such as freedom of association and collective bargaining, are at the stake, which are not implemented fully, but still, even more, we are having the danger of the corruption of our rights. So we have to defend our rights. Unfortunately, this is a fact that sometimes just demanding democracy and the rights of freedom of association and the collective bargaining cost your life or imprisonment, like Belarus, Hong Kong, Myanmar. Please allow me to share my personal experiences. In my long years of engaging in international trade union movement, I have pleasure to meet and associate with Brother Lee Chuk-yang, Hong Kong, and Brother Ma Ma, Myanmar, for more than 30 years. Now they are in jail and hiding, respectively. I know that both are true trade unionists and hard fighters for democracy and basic rights. There is no reason for them to be put in jail or nor forced to hide. We have to continue to fight to release all those trade unionists in prison in Belarus, Hong Kong, Myanmar, and many other countries. After rich discussions, we have adopted Congress statement, new social contract with 5 pillars, namely jobs, rights, wages, social protection, and equality. For the next 4 years, let us make all efforts to realize our demand in the social contract. To take up the position as a president of ITUC, I pledge that taking into consideration of the amended ITUC constitution and the spirit of the amendment, I will make my every effort to run the General Council as a supreme body between the Congresses in compliance with the Constitution and the General Council standing orders. Here, I reiterate that the good governance, transparency, and accountability are indispensable for the administration and activities of ITUC. Whatever decisions we will make in future, we shall take into consideration of these 3 elements as very important. Once decisions are made, I'm confident that every one of you here at the Congress and all other athletes who are not, unfortunately, not here in Melbourne, also together will contribute to strengthening solidarity and advancement of ITUC activities. Dear colleagues, I would like to seek your kind understanding and cooperation for more dynamic and effective activities of ITUC. Now we are on a voyage of democracy and the betterment for the workers. Workers has just begun under the leadership of Captain Luca Vincent. Let us unite and work together as one team of ITUC for betterment of workers and democracy globally. Viva ITUC! Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Akiko, and congratulations. Thank you, thank you. Colleagues, thank you very much. Let me now invite Sister Sharon to respond to some of the issues raised by speakers.
So, colleagues, let me acknowledge the contributions of the final speakers to the Congress statement. Indeed, we would have to agree with the opening speaker that the current business model is not working for working people. Whether it's Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or the millions of others who have built this model of corporate greed, indeed, we do reject their model of economy. In terms of Convention 189, we can't forget the domestic workers, particularly the migrant domestic workers in other lands, as our sister indicated. But we should also be very proud that we've built, with the Domestic Workers Federation and the support from the IUF, a global federation of domestic workers with, I think, more than 160,000 members. They told us when we were fighting for Convention 189 that we could not organise domestic workers. Well, you have. You've gone door to door. You've supported the development of an incredibly strong federation. And I wanted to acknowledge not just Myrtle, our spiritual leader in this quest, but in fact to say that Elizabeth Tang from Hong Kong, who of course is the secretary in exile in London, nevertheless continues to do this work with great applause. But I wanted to recall a woman from Mali who, when I visited with the domestic workers and I said to her, "What's the one thing that would make your lives better?" She said to me something I've never forgotten. She said, "We just want our work recognised as real work like yours." So the dignity of decent work and our recognition of all workers remains strong. And of course, our sister also implored us not to forget the displaced people in other lands, and I think it was fitting that that was followed by a call not to forget the people of Western Sahara or Palestine, for whom occupation is a reality. Indeed, we had in treaties to invest in young workers, and I like the analogy very much that they are the wheels to drive unions into a better future. But we do need to not just talk about it, we need to hear their call, and I'll come back to that. On the question of Burma, Myanmar, to our young sister we say, we will never desert you. We've been through this now for 35 years. Remember, we supported the CTUM in exile for 30 years. We helped the CTUM negotiate those labour laws. I will never forget sitting at the table with Mong Mong opposite the general who was then the Labour Minister, who'd had a gun in his hands 6 months before shooting trade unionists. And now, of course, we are back to that reality. They have our hearts and our solidarity, just as indeed other countries do. The call for relief of debt, or indeed, in some cases, debt elimination, absolutely has our support. And yes, excessive debt does drive hunger and misery for too many people around the world. We do need the fiscal space of debt burdens to be reinvested in health and education, and we need to reform those international monetary organisations to make that possible. The call again for platform business, for organising particularly young workers who are indeed dependent on platform business, has been a central theme this week, and we recognise that, just as we recognise the call to not forget that if we are to actually formalise the informal economy, then it starts with organising, and it's central to wiping out poverty, in-work poverty. I must say our heart does go out to Cirque Thailand. You have our solidarity. I know that Steve Cotton has put up a long-running fight with our support for the rights and freedoms for transport workers, people who've risked their own freedom. But more broadly, Cirque also fights, as Brother Shoya will tell you, for decent work and labour rights in Thailand, which is a brutal regime in its own right. Then, of course, how could we forget the plea from our sister from Belarus, amazing young woman who actually reminded us that freedom of association is the foundation for freedoms everywhere. And that, of course, we pledge not to indeed forget about our brother Yarashok and the other prisoners, but to stand and deliver their freedom. I think it's fitting to actually recall the demand from our sister that said, indeed, we don't raise our children to go to war. And so peace is in our DNA, and sadly, it's back on our agenda in a very brutal way. Not just, of course, first and foremost, as our Ukrainian brothers remind us, the horrors of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but also the some 58 other conflicts around the world. And in that case, I wanted to say thank you to Brother Kashuan, who runs a union, is at the head of his union in Ethiopia, which embodies peace and solidarity. You all know that Ethiopia and Eritrea, the horrors of the Tigray region, that is another one of our union struggles. But the members of Kashuan's union have been absolutely committed to maintaining a safe haven for all of the actors, with all of the history inside the union. an act of solidarity and support for, indeed, peace and democratic rights. And Christian, I'm delighted to conclude with this because in Australia the police are organised as well. Michelle and Sally and indeed my partner when I was at the helm of the ACTU, Greg Combay, will tell you that we organised the police much more strongly after a very tough dispute here on the docks, where there were fateful nights in particular. It could have gone either way. But in the end, having the police, who are working people, inside our ranks, understanding the tensions, and vice versa, us understanding how to indeed make sure our demonstrations are peaceful, has helped enormously. And I can tell you, having bargained for police unions, there is no one tougher at the bargaining table, including on their own. So, Christian, go well. Your challenge to us to accept critical questions from young people is well heard. It's well heard. Young people should be able to ask critical questions because their future is central, not just to inclusion and the strength of our unions, but it's vital to our quest of social justice. So, Mr. President, I think it's been a very rich morning. I very much appreciated the final lineup of young speakers because it reminds us we do have to create space. And I ask you to ask the delegates to endorse the statement.
Thank you, Sharon. Delegates, colleagues, can we endorse the statement? Thank you, endorsed.
And now, delegates, let me make some concluding remarks because we now have the framework of the new social contract to fight for. But I want to thank you for the frontline warriors you are in defence of workers, of working people's democratic rights and freedoms, their jobs, their wages, the vital public services we all depend on. Without you, nothing is possible. For the welcome, I thank you, the affection and trust you've afforded me in many, many of your countries. I couldn't have had a more welcome reception as we tried to battle the issues in the countries where your struggle was critical, but to add to the strength of solidarity and struggle around the world. And thank you for coming to my country to take part in our great Congress. I know it's a long way. We say Australia's only on the way to Antarctica and maybe New Zealand. But nevertheless, I do thank you, and I thank you for being in my city despite the incredibly unorthodox weather. But I also want to thank my own federation because the mighty ACTU is led now by two of the most courageous and strategic women I know, and it's backed by incredible trade unions right across Australia. So Michelle, Sally, thank you. And yeah, let's give them a big hand. And join with me to thank the ITUC team, all the staff who care deeply about you and the struggles you face, who provide the guidance and support for you and indeed back in the leadership of the ITUC. It's their work that makes our visibility possible. For 12 years, I want to acknowledge that they've worked by my side no matter what challenges we faced. The directors, who are of course our special political advisors, who manage their staffs to deliver, I just say thank you. You have been by my side night and day, literally. To the deputy secretaries, and in particular those that have stayed the distance with me, Mamadou Diallo, a giant of an African man and a great friend and comrade. And to Owen Tudor, I can tell you this man does more work for you than you will ever know, and I am incredibly grateful. He has my heart as well. Let me acknowledge also, if you might, she won't show her face, but the woman who has really managed the office of the Secretary for 12 long years, and before that with Guy Ryder. Corinne Merivett is the most amazing rock on which you can depend. I love her. I will miss her like a sister that's a very long way away, but she has made my life possible, and I want to extend my thanks totally. Friends, we are in the fight of our lives. We are literally in a fight for our planet, the only home we know. We are in a fight for the jobs and the just transitions that we know we can realise if we can have our leaders act in a responsible manner. Indeed, for an economy that both works for working people everywhere and for that new social contract that will enable our commitment to peace, democracy, rights and a common security to be realised. Because the ILO's constitution says it all. You can't have peace without social justice. And we know that by making sure people feel secure, that they have optimism about the future, then that's the basis of lasting and sustainable peace. You can do anything. You can literally do anything as the ITUC family when you unite and make common demands across and within nations. Think about it. Just transition was a concept in our ranks, a hotly debated concept. Now it's a dinner party conversation and you get to shape it. The care economy. No one acknowledged the vital work that the predominantly female workforce in our public services did till we put the value of the care economy and the dignity of that work on the agenda. And now you have a UN Care Alliance with at least 14 countries committed to investing in care, and we want to see that number in the hundreds. So you need to organise around that vital work, because investing in care does three things. It actually provides good jobs, not only for women, but predominantly for women, where we are organised. It lifts the burden of care off women predominantly, and it allows them to participate in the broader economy. Collectively, it's the fastest multiplier of productivity and growth in our economies. And you did that. You put care on the agenda. You also, indeed, put the issue of violence against women. 10 years it took us, but we have Convention 190. The convention alone is not enough, although we need to get it ratified. We need the legislative outcomes that you've heard talked about this week. But more importantly, we need the kind of workplace cultures where violence against women or men is not tolerated, where racism is not tolerated, where discrimination is never tolerated. And so I just pick out those examples, but I could pick out many more, because when you act together, you win. The rest of the world is forced to listen to the solutions that we collectively hold in our hands. Because the power of a common narrative cannot be ignored. If you have a common narrative, if you frame it in the way you've framed the new social contract, because it's now on the agenda as well. The UN Secretary-General put it at the heart of his common agenda, the Social Summit on the Common Agenda in 2025. You will be there in large numbers, but you have work to do in the lead-up. He knows you have work to do. He put the global accelerator for jobs, for social protections and just transitions on the agenda to take us towards that. And of course, the Sustainable Development Goals, which you fought so hard for Goal 8, decent work and full employment, for Goal 5, equality, 3 and 4, health and education, 10, of course, around social protection, and 1 around the elimination of poverty, and so much more. And when we stand strong with a common narrative underpinned by a common set of values and demands for social justice, the commitments we have cannot be diminished. And I remind you of what we agreed were our value set and our commitments. Rights, not oppression. Democracy, not dictatorship. Freedom, not fascism. Solidarity, not division. Safety, not exploitation. Tax and not austerity. Fairness, not inequality. And courage above all, not fear. We stand for the 99%, not the 1%. And so we fight for a very different kind of future. That's our common security, but I urge you to recognise in those quests a few truisms. Women hold up half the sky and are not the property of men. I urge you to acknowledge that love is love and that our LGBTI brothers and sisters are members of our own families with both rights and a voice of their own. I urge you to recognise that migrants and refugees are your brothers and sisters, our family, whatever their colour or ethnicity or religion. And I urge you to recognise that Indigenous peoples around the world did not cede their land to the rest of us, but they are, and we must be to others willing to share. Because a willingness to share, kindness and compassion, respect for the rights of others, they're choices we can make. But they're also the very test of our humanity and the solidarity that is our lifeblood, and we must live what we demand. Being your General Secretary has been the privilege of a lifetime, and I am proud to hand over to a great man and friend, Luca Visentini. I'm also proud to hand over to his team, your Owen Tudor, of course, the continuing Deputy Secretary and, as I said, a bedrock of the ITUC, and our Deputy President, Cathy Feingold, and indeed Carl Petter, who's not with us today because he left a little early, but both of them did more work than you can ever know. And the new team, who I congratulate, President Gono, Antonio, Jordania, and Eric. There is no power greater than the united voice of our global family, no security more common than the dignity of decent work that anchors the social contract. Viva ITUC, viva. And as I farewell you, I have a few thanks, because a Congress doesn't just happen. And indeed, I want to, as I've said, I thanked my staff and will do so later, but I want to thank Michelle O'Neill and Sally McManus. Michelle, are you here? Sally, are you here? Only Michelle. Sally's actually negotiating those labour laws as we speak, and I know Michelle's going to Canberra tonight. Come on up, Michelle. So it's always a privilege when your own union movement accepts a request. And Michelle, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, Sharon and delegates. And I want to quickly thank all of you for making this such an incredible success, for your huge contribution and passion, bringing your movements, your passion to our Australian Union movement. I really want to say how much we appreciate you being here, and solidarity to you all. But I also want to say a very quick word about Sharon. Sorry to steal the moment. I'm giving it back to you, Sharon. But we are so, so proud of this woman. We want to say on behalf of the Australian Union movement that, sister, you are a teacher, a feminist, an organiser, an educator, a leader that has brought everything that we could have ever imagined in terms of your contribution to our movement in Australia and to the world. To see you step from the Australian Union movement leadership to the global leadership of our great and powerful and mighty union movement across the globe is something that has left us in awe. It's a big thing to have an Australian sister that we love so much like this one to have made the contribution she has. I know you appreciate it. I want to tell you from Australian Unions, Sharon, how much we love you and how proud we are of you.
One minute. Sharon, j'ai tenu à prendre la parole pour te remercier au nom du continent africain et au nom de ma délégation. Et te dire franchement que nous sommes fiers de toi. Nous avons été fiers de t'avoir comme secrétaire général. Tu as été une femme engagée, qui a été toujours dans ses convictions, qui a su résister à toutes les intempéries et qui a su se faire face pour défendre les idéaux de la classe ouvrière, pour une justice sociale partout dans le monde et quels que soient les continents. Le continent africain voudrait te dire merci. Parce que ta force de caractère a démontré que vous êtes une femme convaincue, qui est restée convaincue dans cette force, n'est-ce pas, qui est l'unité syndicale, et que le mouvement syndical unifié peut soulever des montagnes. Parce que vous êtes restée forte. J'ai voulu vous donner un symbole. Chez nous, le baobab, c'est l'arbre le plus gros, ancré à la terre et retenu à la terre par ses racines puissantes pour craindre le vent. Pour nous, vous êtes un baobab.
You are gorgeous.
Le baobab c'est une peinture sous verre. C'est une peinture sous verre, ça se casse. C'est un baobab. Et cette petite statuette, chez nous, qui caractérise le monument de la Renaissance, qui symbolise un homme et une femme avec un jeune devant qui pointe son doigt vers l'avenir, pour dire que nous avons tous travaillé pour l'avenir entre hommes et femmes ensemble, donc le genre a son importance. Et je ne saurais terminer sans remercier très sincèrement notre frère Mamadou Diallo. Mamadou, tu viens ici. Parce qu'il a été un compagnon de Sharon. Il a dignement représenté dans la loyauté. En tant qu'Africains, nous avons été fiers de toi. Je le dis parce que Mamadou vient de mon organisation. Il a mené le combat à mes côtés jusqu'à mon élection à la suite des changements politiques dans mon pays. Une fois que j'ai été élu, il nous a quittés pour rejoindre la CIC. Depuis lors, il n'a jamais changé. C'est un militant syndicaliste. Il quitte la CIC, mais comme vous le savez, on est syndicaliste et on meurt syndicaliste. Et je suis sûr qu'il va continuer à servir le mouvement syndical international en défendant les valeurs de justice sociale. Mais puisqu'il va quitter Bruxelles, peut-être pour venir rentrer chez lui, il va quitter le siège de la CIC, il va déménager, il a besoin d'un moyen de locomotion pour mettre ses bagages. Et chez nous, en Afrique, au Sénégal, nous avons un moyen de transport qu'on dit car rapide. Je lui donne le car rapide. Alors, mes chers amis, merci beaucoup. Bonne chance et Dieu vous garde.
Merci Modi, merci beaucoup. Merci Sharon. Merci chers collègues, merci à vous tous. J'aurais bien aimé serrer la main de chacune et de chacun d'entre vous. Mais sachez que vous êtes et vous resterez toujours dans mon cœur. Merci beaucoup, merci pour cette aventure qui a été très belle. Merci Sharon, j'ai beaucoup appris à côté de toi. J'ai beaucoup fait avec toi. Et je crois que le mouvement syndical international continuera de bénéficier des résultats que nous avons obtenus. Et je souhaite plein succès à la nouvelle équipe. Je sais qu'elle est capable aussi de faire avancer les choses. Merci encore, camarades. Merci à vous tous. Et à très bientôt.
You might as well stay here, Mamadou, because you're on my list as well.
Okay.
But Mamadou is indeed a rock. When you travel with Mamadou in his own lands, and you know, you can see the respect with which he's greeted. But also never underestimate that smiling face, that warm personality, all of which is true, is not actually underpinned by a strength and a determination that you wouldn't want to cross. I have seen him stand up to the toughest of individuals, to government leaders, and actually simply talk truth to power, and they bow before him. He's been a brother in arms. I'm very, very grateful for his solidarity and his strength over many years. Mamadou, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Merci.
And I have two more. I'm saving one of the last for our president, but when Michelle talked about the Congress, you don't just do a Congress on your own. I've thanked my own team, but now I want to thank a woman who Michelle and Sally, at my request, brought back to help us coordinate the Congress on the ground here with Matthew and Tim and Philippe and the rest of the team in Brussels. Sharon Gibbard worked for me a long time ago, but then when I left, indeed, the ACTU, she spent 10 years working in her profession as a nurse, a bush nurse in Indigenous communities. I can tell you that there is no one tougher or more generous or more gentle of spirit than this woman, Sharon Gibbard. And we brought her back to coordinate the Congress. So that magnificent opening ceremony, which showed you the kind of Australia we are, with deep ancient roots but divisive politics, a migrant country that actually has the hope, when we all work together, of a collective future. And of course, all of the other events that you've been at. And last night was the culmination. So Ms. Sharon Gibbard, thank you, thank you, thank you. One more time. The Sharons were back together, and I love and I'm very proud of this woman. I don't know where she is, but Sharon, run on down. And from the women who enjoy those wondrous bandanas with the reminder of ratifying CEO, this is the Indigenous painting on which they were indeed based, and I'm handing that to Sharon as a momentum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And now for our president. What a man, what a warrior. ITUC Waba. I've been privileged, as I said in opening, to work with 3 presidents, all very, very strong men. But this one has stolen my heart, because even as he fought alongside me for you and your ambitions, he was winning every time in his own country. He didn't just talk about a minimum wage on which you live. He kicked goals with, I think, 3 or 4 minimum wage rises in the time of his presidency. And when he had to, he took out the whole country in defence of workers. He fought for the rights of workers to job security. And again, when he had to, took the nation with him. And so much more. I've seen this man operate in his own country, seen the respect and the fear with which many government leaders view him, but I've also known his comradeship, his partnership, and his commitment to the ITUC. There is no stronger union man than ITUC Waba, and I thank him, I will miss him. He has my heart forever.
Colleagues, dear delegates, it has been really a very gratifying period to serve with this very strong team, particularly Sharon. I've never heard from her that something cannot be done. She's such an incredibly inspiring woman, and as a leader, I know that we have worked together assiduously. And I'm sure all of you can testify to the fact that she's really a very strong leader. I really appreciated the cooperation that I've received from the Secretariat for the 4 years we have been in office. And I can tell you that all of us are passionate about getting things done. And that is what trade unionism is all about. There should not be any argument. It should be about how do we achieve results. And that is where you will find Sharon standing each time and each time. So for me, it's a very gratifying moment. And really, Sharon, I want to thank you immensely. We are going to miss you because no 2 individuals are the same. Individuals may have similar qualities and characteristics, but not 2 individuals or leaders are the same. Very strong leader, very committed, and importantly, wanting to do things done within a very short time. So, Sharon, I really appreciate you. On behalf of the elected leadership, myself, Kati Fingol, the Deputy General Secretaries, Kalpata, as you said, left us midway because he had a higher calling to be a Minister of Innovation in Sweden. But all of us have worked together in the 4 years as a team, as a collective, and with very strong understanding and support. That is what I expected this new team actually to do and to work together in the same vein. So once again, Sharon, here's my flower. Bring it. Yeah.
It's a comedy hour. Oh no!
Well, on behalf of all of us, the elected leadership, really, we have enjoyed a very cordial working relationship, but also many results to show for it. You can't talk of C-190. You can't talk of the issue of occupational health and safety as a fundamental right without recognizing the contribution of the current leadership under Sharon. Sharon, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now all I can say is I'm very proud to hand it over to Luca Vicentini and his team. Luca is somebody I've known now for about 8 years, and he's a tough cookie himself. He's of course been at the helm of the ITUC and all of the advancing of issues that we so much need as foundations for the world. Luca, I'm very proud to know you, to be your friend, and to know that you will take over this mighty global family who, to me, are the most precious force for justice in the world. Thank you all very much.
Colleagues, thank you once again. It is now my rare honor and privilege to invite our new General Secretary, Lucas Vicentini, to deliver his address and also introduce the new leadership of ITUC. Luca, you're welcome, please.
Thank you very much, Brother Ayuba. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you, all of you. This time I've written it on paper, so there are no risks. A bit old-fashioned, but more secure, I will say. Now, seriously, I really want to thank all of you, Ayuba, Sharon, everybody. But let me start by thanking our Australian brothers and sisters, Michelle, Sally, all of those that have made this fantastic Congress possible. Thank you very much, really, from the bottom of my heart. And also thank you for having made me knowing Australia for the first time. It was my first visit to this country. It will be just the first of a long series, I'm sure. I didn't care about the weather because it's identical to Brussels, so it was not a problem for me to adapt. But I really appreciated the beauty of this country and also the coffee and the wine. I have to say that this is one of the few places in the world where you can drink the same kind of espresso I have in Italy. And also your wine can compete quite seriously with the Italian one. So thank you very much for that. But thank you very much particularly for the example that you have shown to all of us, for your battles, your fights for workers' rights, and your achievements in terms of increase of wages, in terms of making working conditions of working people in your country better, in terms of reinforcing your negotiating power, collective bargaining, organizing. You are really an example for all of us. This is a great trade union movement. Really, really, congratulations. And also, I have to say, it was also very important for me to understand a bit more about your culture, about the indigenous people in this country to be protected, about the fact that equality and equal rights for everybody are a fundamental value for the movement that in this country becomes reality on the ground, and also thanks to the trade union movement. So it's really, really important. And I really want to send you a great good luck for the referendum that you have promoted that will happen very soon. I think it's a fundamental moment that is not important only for Australia but also for the rest of the world and the rest of the trade union movement. And I was also very impressed to listen to your Prime Minister, Mr. Anthony Albanese. Well, I think we really need more leaders like this all around the world. And as Sharon said before, we have very few former trade unionists, people that come from the movement, that understand about the movement being in power all around the world. We have just lost one, that was Stefan Löfven in Sweden. And so it's very important that we stand together with these powerful leaders and we can make sure really that the progressive political movement together with the progressive labor movement and trade union movement can really succeed in our battles, our common battles. And I was so happy to listened to the Prime Minister saying that not only you have increased the minimum wage significantly in the country, but you are also preparing important reforms, and Australia is going to ratify Convention 190. This is really crucial also for countries that consider themselves so developed, like the European Union member states, and there are very few of them that have done the same. So I think we really need to learn from all you are doing, and this really gives some hope for the future. And I'm also very happy, to learn that you have an half-Italian Prime Minister, although my Irish friend would argue that he's mainly Irish than Italian, but he has an Italian name. I'm very happy about that. I only regret that I will never be able to teach Sharon how to pronounce properly the Italian names, but okay, this is another story. Sharon Barrow. Well, first of all, I'm really, really proud to call you a friend of mine. And this is for me really emotional, to thank you in the name of the whole Congress of the ITUC for the fantastic work you have delivered over the last 3 mandates you have been the leader of the ITUC. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, first of all, because you have changed radically the global agenda. Not only for the trade unions, but in general, because the ITUC is today, thanks to Sharon Barrow, a totally recognized actor in the global arena, is an interlocutor at the same level of importance, at the same level of authority of all the international multilateral institutions, politically speaking, economically speaking, financially speaking, a trade union movement that has been able to cope with the incredible crisis that we have gone through over the last years, and has not only survived, but has become more powerful and more authoritative in facing this crisis and in being really a negotiating power with the global and multilateral institutions. This is thanks to Sharon Barrow and her team. And it's also thanks to Sharon Barrow and her team if now the global trade union movement is one of the fundamental actors of just transition. It was not something automatic, We know how many concerns working people have, rightly so, about climate and digital transition. But we also know that the work that you have done has delivered in terms of awareness, but in terms of action to make sure that the just transition can really become a reality. And the same we can say when it comes to social rights, workers' rights, trade union rights. You have been really a great defender, as someone has said during these days, a world champion of workers' rights. We are really thankful to you, Sharon, for all this. And let me also tell, this is maybe something more personal, that I'm also very, very thankful to you because you have been mentoring me and introducing me when I was just acting at the European level into the global trade union movement and the challenges that the global trade union movement faces. And also you have helped me to make sure that the contribution that the European trade union movement could give to the global context was something positive, and that we could come out of our shell and not be just concentrated and focused only on European matters, that it was important to look at the world, and you have really helped me to become a global leader. It was you, together with some important friends for me from the global trade unions like Steve, Christy, David, but let me also mention Phil Jennings, the first person that I met in my trade union life, early 90s, as an international leader, and I was very impressed by him from the really beginning. But let me mention also Rich Trumka, a great leader of the global movement that I really miss. Sorry for being so emotional about Rich, but Rich was really the guy that told me, buddy, you have to be global. You have to come into this movement. You have to play your role. And he was the one that told me a few years ago, you will have to run for the ITUC General Secretary position. I said, Rich, are you crazy? That's not my job. I mean, I have some other things to do, but it was thanks to Rich and thanks to Sharon if I have really become what I am now, and if I could really get your trust and support to become ITUC General Secretary. But let me also thank the team that is leaving. Ayuba, Kati, Karl-Peter, that has left a bit earlier, but also is a great friend of mine, and of course, Owen, Mamadou, Victor. And I'm very, very happy that two of these people, Kati and Owen, will stay in their positions because I need, but we all need their experience, their capacity to help us in developing further the legacy that Sharon and the current team has left us for the future. And let me also thank from the bottom of my heart the ITUC staff, not only for having organized this beautiful Congress together with the ICTU staff, Michelle and Sally, but particularly for the fantastic work they deliver every day for the ITUC and for all of us. It's very important what they do, and I'm really grateful to all of them and really eager, and I can't wait to work with them in the next 4 years. And thank you, Congress. Thank you to the colleagues in the Credential and Standing Orders Committee, but thank you, most importantly, to all of us, to all of you, to all of us, to all the delegates, the observers, the people invited to participate in this Congress for the fantastic discussion and debate that together we have delivered. The atmosphere of this Congress was fantastic. I remember Copenhagen was so tense, it was so difficult to come through that Congress. This Congress has been completely different, a fantastic moment of unity, of solidarity, of mutual support, of enthusiasm to build the foundation of a stronger trade union movement for the future. And this is thanks to you, thanks to all of you. This Congress has become an important moment of democracy and solidarity. And let me thank also Kemal Özkan, because I think the fact that Kemal has decided to run for this position and the very fair and constructive competition that we had over the last few months, and also the fact that we have never crossed against each other, on the contrary, always cooperated for the good of the movement, for unity and solidarity. Thank you, Kemal. This was really, really important, and it's also very important that we will continue cooperating together, and also that we have been able, all together, to manage this process in a fully transparent and democratic manner. This was a great sign of the strength of this movement. Well, the discussions that we have developed over these last few days have been very inspirational, but also very focused on the content of the Congress statement, on the strategy that we have to build for the future, on concrete action that we have to deliver and implement. And it has shown, as I say, the great unity and solidarity that this movement is really building up. And it has also reinforced our priorities and our strategies for the future. Everything was already, of course, in the Congress statement, but nevertheless, having had the possibility to discuss all this over these last few days was fundamental to strengthen even further our internal unity, our focusing on our targets and priorities, but also we have been able, during the forums, the side events, the different discussions, already to plan concrete action. So it's not only about policy discussion, it's also particularly about setting the scene for concrete future action. And in the statements that we have just approved, the resolutions about Iran, about peace and democracy, the different conflicts that we have in the world, including, of course, Ukraine, about the need to step up and fight against far right and fascism all over the world. Well, all these papers are actually living strategies and living priorities for action for the future. Peace and democracy, a new economic model, just transition, and of course, the slogan of our Congress, a new social contract. We are a movement that is ready to deliver, ready to fight and mobilize for our objective, a movement that is ready to negotiate as a real trade union confederation at global level, a movement that is ready to organize, as Sharon is always reminding us. We are ready, brothers and sisters, and together we will win this battle, because we stand together, because we are able to do it together. And be sure that I am ready to deliver all of this with you. I'm very proud of this Congress, not only because of the policy discussion we had, but also for some incredible achievements that Liz Schuler has commented in many occasions during the Congress. More than 50% of the delegates are women. 10% of the delegates are young people. I think this is probably the most important result of this Congress. It's fantastic that we have delivered on this, and it also shows the richness of this movement, the fact that we have that we put the differences and the richness of the difference as the core of our existence, at the core of our foundation. And as I said in my introductory speech, in the presentation of my candidacy a couple of days ago, I am committed, we are all committed, to strengthen even further this internal democracy and inclusion, to strengthen even further transparency in our internal decision-making processes, in sharing information, in sharing discussions, in making sure that everybody can have a voice in the movement. And we are also ready to include everybody, whatever is their background. We are also ready for empowering the regions of the ITUC, based on balance, on fairness. This is really a strong commitment for the future. And as you have seen during the discussions, we have already envisaged some changes that we want to make to our internal rules, to our internal life, even in our constitution. Particularly, this is the most important point to be mentioned here, to reach with the next Congress full gender parity in all the bodies of the ITUC, including the elected leadership. This is a commitment that I want to repeat in front of all of us. To conclude, I don't want to speak too long, but I think this is the most important moment for me, which is to congratulate our new team. And I would like all of them to come on stage, if they can join me here. Aikiko, Kati is no more in Australia, unfortunately she had to leave, but Aikiko, Antonio, Owen, Jordania, Eric, please come here on stage with me. Let's show our unity. Because the ITUC is not the General Secretary, the ITUC is all of us, but this team is the sign of our unity and of our capacity to deliver for the future. Thank you, colleagues, for having accepted to be part of this team, and congratulations for your elections. We took a picture of the team yesterday because we knew that some of the members of the team would have left in the meantime. And then I sent this picture to some friends, to my family, and the reactions in WhatsApp were, "What a cool team." They have very smiling and happy faces. We are sure that with their character and with their diversity, they will be able, together with you, to deliver fantastic results for the ITUC, and I am very proud of you. Thank you, colleagues. We, this team, together, of course, with the General Secretaries and the Presidents of the regional structures of the ITUC, we are building We are going to build the future with all of you. We represent all of you, and we are ready to work with all of you to win our rights, our fights and results for working people all over the world. Brothers and sisters, this is the end of the Congress. I want to tell you that, as you know, the next Congress will be in 2026, but most importantly, I want to tell you that I have asked Rafael and Fred, our ITUC friends, to consider if we can organize the next Congress in Latin America. I think this is very important. And it's important because we have to continue this good tradition to have finally had a Congress in Australia, which is not Europe. After so many congresses in Europe, we have to get out from this Eurocentric attitude. So it's important that we introduce some kind of rotation also for the congresses. And so giving the sign that the next Congress will be in Latin America, I think with Lula there finally, with this great victory, will be crucial in symbolic terms, in practical terms, to build a better future of the movement. This good tradition has to become really reality. And really to conclude, brothers and sisters, thank you to all of you, to all of us for this great Congress. Thank you to the trade union people from Australia, from Asia and Pacific, from Africa, from the Americas, from Europe. Thank you. We are the movement, and we are strong enough to deliver for working people. We will stand together in the next 4 years. We will fight together. Together, we will win. Viva ITUC! Thank you.
Viva.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I forgot an important thing. That is that not only the team, the old and the new team, but also all the staff of the ITUC. Please, guys, if you are in the room, come on stage, be with us. And thank you very much again for what you do.
I don't know. Well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hi, Luca.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Very much. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I've just got a few changes to the speech. No, it's too late. Thank you. Hi, thank you. See you soon. Hi. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Owen, Luca, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, boss.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, brother. Hi, brother. Congratulations. Thank you. Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
Again, you.
Luca,
thank you.
bienvenido, enhorabuena.
Thank you. Thank you. Grazie. Thank you. for doing the new job.
A great applause to all these people.
Okay.
President.
Colleagues, I'm sure it has been a very rewarding 5th World Congress for all of us. In terms of the discussion, in terms of the organizing, I think is a very huge success. Let me start by appreciating our interpreters, because I think everybody that has spoken, we have forgotten our interpreters. They are the reason that we can hear ourselves. We thank them immensely for making it possible to hear ourselves. Let me also thank our hosts, the Australian Council of Trade Unions, under the leadership of Michelle. We thank you immensely for hosting this very wonderful Congress. And importantly, let me recognize the indigenous owners of this land and appreciate their leaders, past, present, and emerging, for allowing us to use this land to hold our Congress. Let me also appreciate our youths that have been here in this number. Our women, let me also thank you immensely. Thank you and thank you. And lastly, all the delegates for making this conference a very huge success. As you travel back, we hope that you will travel well. We wish you a very safe journey. Once again, thank you immensely. It is then my honor and privilege to bring to a close the 5th World Congress of ITUC. Thank you and thank you and thank you.